Hello everyone and welcome back to Training Tuesday. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different and we're going to be talking about training 300 horses. I currently have 330 horses. I made a video at the start of this year and it was titled, how to train 300 horses, and it was like my goal for training for this year. And I thought I'd do a little bit of an update because things haven't necessarily changed a lot, but there's definitely been some shifts and I've definitely been a lot better at training now than I was at the start of the year. I think at the start of the year, I'd only trained about like 1 or 2 horses in the first few months, but over the past like 2-3 weeks, I've been training a horse every single day. So let's talk about my strategy. We'll enter my home stable and talk about how many horses I have. I also asked you guys on Instagram just for a couple of questions that we'll kind of cover as well. So here we are in my home stable. Now I can actually shuffle some of these around. So now, obviously, it's impossible to train a horse from level 1 to level 15 in a day because there's like 33,000, I believe, XP that you need to train a horse to level 15, and you can only get around like 13,000, I think, XP in one day. So it'll take about 3 days to train a horse if you do every single race. So I made the decision. If you guys don't know, by the way, in your pasture, you can actually sort by name, level, mood, and breed. So I like to sort by level. And you guys can see I've got a lot of one level horses. But yeah, so I have about 75 horses trained to level 15, which I actually really enjoy training. I know because I have so many horses not trained, that might seem weird. Anyways, we'll talk a bit more about that later. But yeah, so I recently I thought it was more common than it actually is, but I heard of people only training their horses to level 10. And level 10 is obviously a lot easier to get to because level 10 only requires around 13,000 XP, which you can do in one day from level 1. And I had a bunch of horses at like level 8 and things like that. And the reason behind training to level 10, it isn't anything special. I'm not a championship person. I'm not even a racer. I just train and I just chill. So for me, I don't need every single horse to level 15, at least not right now, I'd have like my championship horse is level 15, my championship pony is level 15, and at the end of the day, like, that's kind of all I really need. And I just find level 10 a lot more satisfying than leaving horses at level 13 or level 8. By the way, we'll get to the whole level 13 and horse progression a little bit later as well. So I have actually just been training my horses to level 10. And by doing this, it's actually made me it's more motivating because obviously when you're training a horse, like quote unquote training a horse, maxing it, I suppose, in a way, every single day, it keeps up that kind of hype, that I don't know, that chemical probably in your brain, which is like, oh my gosh, yay, I've trained a horse today, it keeps you excited rather than training for 3 hours a day for 3 days just to train one horse. So my goal right now is to get all of my horses to level 10 and then go back and ride them and train them up to level 15 or something different because of the horse progression, but we'll get to that once again. So yeah, unfortunately I do have a lot of horses, but I think I've got about 30 horses, maybe 40 horses at level 10, 75 at level 15. So I've got just over 30% of my horses kind of getting there, and hey, that's a win in my book. So let's move on to a little bit of a training route. So I recently moved my home stable to level too much, to Steve's farm. Alright you guys, so if you don't know me, then I'm actually someone who always starts my training route wherever my home stable is. It's just easier. And my training route is actually no trailers, I don't spend your Vic shillings, besides enjoy training to go anywhere. For example, I used to actually have my home stable here in Dundle because it was easier to kind of, start and kind of just make my way around the map super duper easily, And then when Tailtop came out, when Redwood Point, I moved it here, and then I went to Tailtop Village, and I found it easier. But then I started training with Georgia, and it was nighttime, and I was like, what if I move my home stable to Steve's farm? I guess before that I was at Starshine Ranch, sorry, wrong spot. Whilst I was at Starshine Ranch, I actually didn't really go to Dundle, actually. I just kind of did a pretty short training route then. I actually only did something like that, and that usually got my horses from level 8 to level 10. But now that I'm actually needing to do more and more races, I do almost all of the races. We'll talk more about motivation later on. When I'm with Georgia, Georgia has a slightly different training route. Like, I don't keep it the same every single time I do it, so I just follow Georgia along. We kind of just do races, so it's slightly different, but this is the one that I do when I'm alone. So obviously I start here at Steve's farm, and I do the races here, and then I go Will's Mill, Bunny Race, over to the Baroness. I then catch the gondolas up here to the Observatory Race. I then go wherever the Druid Paddock is up here. I then come down, and then I ride all the way up to the lake. I go through the little Fir Grove passageway, you know, all the way down here, and I go into Mistfall, Wildwoods, and everything. And once I get here, I actually trailer back to my home stable. Once again, it's just my own personal preference. I kind of like the downtime between races, I suppose. I do have, like, I guess, the time. If I don't have the time, then I will often trailer places. Anyways, I then ride over to Nilma's and go down through Moorland, Fort Pinter, catch the ferry across to Southhoof, go along Southhoof through Epona. Epona's a little boring because, you know, there's not many races and it takes a little bit to travel everywhere. I then go around Greendale. I actually often miss this one here, but if I'm about to like train a horse or I've got some extra time outside of the 3 hours that it takes to do like every single race, I will pop over here at the end. Same with the Valley of the Hidden Dinosaur, but yeah, I don't often ride out to those places. Anyways, we go through Jarlaheim. I actually often do something like this. It's a little bit funky. And then we go down to the ferry port and we catch the ferry all the way around to Cape West Fishing Village. We go across to Golden Leaf Stables. Georgia showed me like a little, I don't know if it's much of a shortcut, but you can actually ride along the edge instead of going around Cape West Fishing Village. We then go down to the Golden Leaf, the Jaspers races, and then we go along to the Riding Hall, go up. I also do have the Garden Race unlocked, things like that. From the Garden Race, I then go to the Manor races, and then I make my way to my final point, which is Marley's Farm. How does that look for you guys? Also, one thing to note is there is like the Big Bonnie, gosh, I'm not an artist. The Big Bonnie like 200 XP with the horse thing. So I either do that at the start or in the middle when I trailer back from Mistfall, or I do it at the very end. But yeah, there is also 200 XP for recyclables at Big Bonnie. Make sure you remember that. But yeah, I don't always do every single race because I think it's important to not force yourself to do racing, to do training, but we'll get into that in the motivation section. Alright, moving on to the part where you just watch a little speed up of me training. So this is about half an hour of footage, so just like the first half hour of my training. As I said before, it usually takes me about 3 hours to do every single race. It's not like too fun, but like I'll get into the motivation thing later. And like, how do I actually train every day? How have I been training every day? But first, we're going to talk about horse progression, then it's staying motivated, and then we'll move on to like a few of the smaller questions. This is my third time filming this, so like let's hope that we nail it this time. One thing that I did forget to say, I accidentally highlighted the pony race. I only do the pony race if I'm on a pony. Once again, you could like do the pony race and then on a pony and then collect the XP on a different horse, but I don't do that unless I'm like dying to max a horse to level 10 or something. And also championships give you guys XP as well. I think it's 200 XP, and they can also be lifesavers when training horses. I don't often go out of my way to go to championships, but if I think about it and there's one about to be on and I know that I'm not gonna have enough races that day to like level 10 a horse, I'll go do a race. But yeah, let's talk about horse progression. Now, I did consider doing this video like afterwards, and I think I am going to talk about like, it depends how much horse progression kind of changes, I suppose, and kind of train horses every single day for a little bit and then talk about horse progression and how I feel about it. Like I wasn't sure if I should make this video literally the day before the horse progression comes out, but yeah, I personally am pretty excited for horse progression. And like, I feel like it's a good idea, especially for those people who have the time to actually train and things like that. Now, I'm someone who I just use training as like something to keep my brain active. You know, when people are scrolling through TikTok and they're like listening to a story and they gotta have their like Subway Surfers or Minecraft parkour like underneath. That's what Star Stable is to me. You know, I do other things whilst training. So for me, I think that the idea of it is really cool. You know, we get to call our horses will follow us. Those are really cool things which are coming, and I really like how it's implemented into training because it gives training a bigger purpose, especially for those people who train horses and like enjoy doing that. Unfortunately, obviously it doesn't work for those people who don't like training horses, which kind of sucks, you know. And like, I am fully aware that honestly for a long time I did not have time to train every day, or I didn't have the motivation and everything. But I don't think Star Stable should limit their horse progression just because like some people can't train every day, because I know that a lot of players are also like, we need more stuff to do in Star Stable, and I just feel like this is something for people to do in Star Stable, you know, to work towards these cool features with your horses. And it really does make you feel like you're bonding with horses. You know, I have so many level 1 horses and I don't feel bonded to them, like even before this whole horse bonding system, I suppose. So I'm pretty excited for it. Definitely gonna have to see what it's actually like in the game and how it kind of feels and things like that. But yeah, I know how frustrating it can feel if you don't like training and you still want to have access to those features. I don't know, I would say it would be cool if you could like buy it, I suppose, like the lead rope function. You could buy that before this horse progression thing. I believe they're removing the ability to buy the lead rope function, but I don't know. Anyways, with horse progression, they're basically making it so level 13 is the max speed level of your horse, and then basically the last 2 levels to level 15, you only get a fancy nameplate. Now, honestly, I don't really know how I feel about that whole section, just because like level 13 to level 15, it's only 2 levels, but those 2 levels actually probably take about a full day of training. It's like actually a lot of training if I remember correctly. So I don't know how I feel about them separating it like that. 13 is like an okay number, I suppose. Like, I'm kind of thinking after horse progression I might go back and train my horses to level 13, because that's another day of training, so I should hopefully still be able to like quote unquote train a horse every day. And then after all of my horses level 13, I'll go back through and make them level 15. It's a long process when you have so many untrained horses. So that's like my current look ahead. Now, this does like really remind me of in Star Stable Horses, they added it so that there's actually 20 levels. You can still buy the horse at level 10, but you can still continue training them to level 20. And I personally just haven't really found a purpose for that. But once again, I'm not really in the training for the special like, not gimmicks, for the special features that we're going to be able to unlock. At least right now, my opinion might change once I see it in the game or something. But yeah, so for now, I don't mind if my horses are at level 10 or level 13 or level 15, but only time will tell when horse progression is actually released. But yeah, I'm actually pretty excited to see it. As much as like it's going to be a big change for the user interface, I'm actually also pretty excited to see it, because I think it's really cool to see how Star Stable is evolving and things like that, and keeping on updating every single week for the past, what is it now, 13 years or something like that. I just really hope that I can make my user interface small again, because it's too big now. It's too big on my 4K screen with their new like update thing. I don't like it. But yes, let's move on to the next section, staying motivated. This was one of the most asked things that people asked for on my Instagram story, was how do you stay motivated, how do you train every day, how long it takes to train, how do you do productive training, things like that. And for me, I just want to make it clear to you guys that training, you don't have to train. I don't think it's good to force yourself to train if you genuinely don't enjoy it. don't do it, I suppose. Yeah, I don't think you should force yourself to train. Like, I haven't really forced myself to train, hence why I have so many untrained horses. So at the beginning of this year, I had like this idea that I was going to train a horse every day, and it didn't happen until like 2-3 weeks ago. And I don't really know when the shift was. I think there was a big shift when I started training with Georgia. Georgia was like on her training grind back then, and I was like, I'm gonna join you on this, and we started training together in voice calls and things like that, and it's just really fun to train with someone else. And after that, I kind of just continue training, but something that's so important for me with my motivation is like doing something else whilst I train. As I said, Star Stable's kind of like my Subway Surfers or my Minecraft parkour. I watch YouTube videos, I listen to like audiobooks, I listen to music, I might even sit there in my thoughts and think about video ideas. Now, it is still a very long time to sit down at your computer and train for 3 hours straight. I often break it up in the day. I often do a little bit in the morning and a little bit in the evening, something like that. Something else that I've been doing over on my Discord server, I have a brand new Discord server. If you were in the old one, then we have a brand new one that you need to join. And I've been doing something called muted training. So I basically live stream my Star Stable into a muted call. We're all quiet, we don't really talk. Sometimes I communicate through text a little bit with you guys, but it's basically the vibe of friends hanging out, but you're just like all on your phone. Some people call it antisocial, but I think that it's just a sign of like your bond, and you're just like spending time together without spending time together. So yeah, or even like Netflix movies or things like that. So often I find myself just sitting in my bed or something on the couch watching YouTube, and I'm like, you know what I could be doing? I could be training horses and watching YouTube, you know? Make Star Stable your Subway Surfers. And it's so funny because I've been training for so long now, I can actually, like, I don't actually really pay attention to my Star Stable screen, which is why I'm kind of oblivious to everything around me. Maybe it's not the greatest thing, but like literally I've been listening to an audio, it's a role-playing game campaign, and it's kind of like an audiobook. That's the easiest way to explain it, but I was like filming my reaction for the ending because things got tense, and I just like a little bit watching it back, I was like, there is no thought behind those eyes, because I was just so involved in imagining how this audiobook, I'm a film student, kind of, so I just like was imagining the movie in my head. Anyways, so yeah, motivation to train. Sometimes you don't have it, and unfortunately that's just what happens. That is just what happens, and you shouldn't force yourself, okay? Because if you keep forcing yourself, then you're just not going to enjoy it, and then it's not going to be fun. It's going to be, I hate training, but I have to train, la la la, like I don't want to do it. Like, that's not a good mindset to be in. Let's answer a couple of questions. When do you plan on going back through your horses and making them level 15? Love you. I love you too. As I said before, as soon as every single one of my horses is either level 15 or level 10, I'm then going to go back and train them all to level 13 and then train them all to level 15. So I've got a lot of horses, so it's probably going to take me until the end of the year if I continue up this daily training, which my mother is visiting. I've got a couple of like visitors coming, so unfortunately, you know, I'll probably be a little bit behind. So it's probably not going to be until next year that I start riding horses again. But the other thing is, this is also really fun when you have so many horses. When I was training like a horse to level 15, and it takes like 3 days, and it's like you're not as motivated because, oh, I have to train every single race every single day. Like, that wasn't motivating to me, so I switched up my strategy. But it also means that I get to ride so many more of my horses that I've bought and just never ridden. So it's really fun. Do you ever train in your alt accounts? No, I don't. You know, I've just got so many horses on my main account that I just don't even want to think about my alt account. I train during live streams. I think it's just difficult because I don't have as many races unlocked on my alt account, and I'm a lot slower because I don't buy stable care or anything like that. So it's just a little finicky, and I don't enjoy it as much as my main account. So maybe one day in the probably a very far distant future, when I've trained every single horse on my main account, I'll be able to go to my alt accounts. And that's one thing. I like the fact that I have untrained horses, because it means that every single time I log into Star Stable, I know that there's at least one thing I can do. I can train, and I enjoy doing that. Especially not in this horse progression update, but in the future Star Stable does want to make it so you can do every single race on like different horses. So you might do every single race on one horse and get it if it like fully trained or something, and then you can go back and do the same races on a different horse, so you can just like keep leveling. Like, would that take literally all day? Yes, but sometimes you just find yourself with like no time. Oh yeah, by the way, with my training route, literally sometimes I just don't feel like doing it. Like, over the past couple of days I just haven't had as much time, so I've simply just not done all the training. I've simply done like probably to level 10 and left like the other half of the races. Like, sometimes if I even don't feel like doing those Epona races, sometimes for some reason even that poisonous pole bending thing in Firgrove, I don't like that sometimes. I just skip it. I don't like druid training, but I rarely skip it because it's gives such good XP. But yeah, that's just another thing. See, this is why I keep refilming this video. I feel like it's so chaotic. How long does it usually take you to max a horse? I really need to start training my horses. Hey, only if you want to, then you can train your horses. So as I was saying, like, if I train a horse from level 1 to level 15, it usually takes 3 days, and that's 3 hours, sometimes over 3 hours every single day training. That was just like too much for me. So it usually takes me about an hour on the minimum side, an hour to like 2 hours to train my current horses from about level 5 to level 10. So yeah, it still does take quite a while, but I also sometimes break it up a bit, you know? You gotta go walk outside, you come back, you do some training, you do some work, you do some training, you do something else, you clean the house, you do some training. Some people ask my honest opinion on horse progression, and I just want to say that I don't mean to always be nice to Star Stable. That is literally my honest opinion. Like, I honestly am pretty excited for it, and I think it's just really cool that there is a way for people to like, that there's more to training than just being faster. I think that's so good, but I also know that it's not as helpful for people who can't train every day. But I just feel like that's not Star Stable's problem. I don't know. Like, I know that sounds mean, but I'm sorry. Hey, sometimes I'm on that bandwagon too. Like, do you guys know how many untrained horses I have? Do you know how bad I've actually been statistically at training my horses this year? Like, we're in the 5th month. We're in May. We're almost in June. And I've only been training consistently for like 2 weeks. Okay, you guys? I'm not good at training. How do you stop distractions to keep training? I feel like Star Stable is my distraction. Oh, in my closet video at the end of my like spring cleaning video, Georgia was like, how do you still enjoy Star Stable? And I'm like, I literally have no idea. But I think it's because sometimes when I play Star Stable, I'm not playing Star Stable. As I said before, for the millionth time, it's like my Subway Surfers. I'm not really paying attention to it. It's just a fun thing to keep my mind busy whilst focusing on other things. Now, this doesn't work for everyone, but during lockdown, and I was pretty lucky where I lived, we only had about a week or 2 of online classes. But in that time, whenever I was like in a class, it was mainly only in maths. I'd actually train my horses whilst the maths teacher was teaching, and then, you know, because I've got 2 monitors. Well, I've got 3 now, but I can just like look at the maths problem, and as he's writing it out whilst also like doing something else with my brain, like it really helps me to actually be more focused. You sometimes hate the horse that you are training. By the way, I love watching your videos. Thank you. Honestly, I feel like sometimes I can like, I'm like, oh no, I don't want to train this horse. Like, oh, I don't feel like training this horse. I want to ride my new sparkly horse or something. Like, I don't feel like riding Gen 2 or something. Sometimes, like, even making outfits, like, you gotta find a nice outfit so that when you're looking at your horse, it's, like, looks pretty whilst you're training. But I actually find that when I actually start riding the horse and training on the horse, I'm actually like, you know what? I like this horse. I don't hate this horse. I like this horse. I don't know. Someone also asked, what is the best outfit tax stats for training? Now, I personally do not care about my statistics whilst I'm training, just because I would rather like not be thinking about that. I'm not trying to go for high scores. Some people, I guess they just like to be speedy all the time. One thing I do need is my horse to be fully fed and happy. Like, I'm sorry, but like, I don't know, my horse is so slow when it's sad. But yeah, I just wear the clothes that I want to, because otherwise when else am I going to wear those clothes, you know? do you have a reward system once you've maxed a horse? Do you treat yourself? I actually haven't needed a system like this for myself. I know that some other people do. They do like, once I train this horse, I'm going to buy a new horse, and that not only helps them train horses, but it also helps them save their star coins, things like that. But I personally just haven't really needed something like that because I haven't put the pressure on myself to train my horses. As I said before, I need like one horse for champs and one pony for champs, and I'm kind of set. Like, I don't need the other horses trained. It's more of just a thing that you can do in Star Stable, which is why I really actually like the horse progression, because it adds more to the thing that I can just do whilst playing Star Stable. I don't know if that makes sense. Oh my goodness. Anyways, so yeah, I just haven't really needed to reward myself. Training is my reward. I don't know. I personally just haven't really needed to. I kind of have the motivation outside of the reward, I suppose. I'm not sure. Why is Georgia so cool? Why is Georgia so cool? Is it annoying when you don't go alphabetical order? Also, I love your videos. Thank you so much. Yeah, I don't know. As I said before, I guess most of the time when I'm in my home stable, I actually either sort my horses by breed, because I often know the breed more than the Jorvik name, or I sort them by level. So I'm not really thinking about the alphabeticalness of my horses, if that makes sense. But yeah, so it doesn't personally annoy me. Some people are asking about like efficient racing routes or training routes, sorry. And I have for like probably a year now, I've been meaning to like literally be a scientist and do some statistics and like figure out and do like the actual best like 10-minute training route, 20-minute training route, half an hour training route. I just haven't sat down to do it yet. As I kind of quickly mentioned, when I was training, a lot of my horses were level 8 to level 10. I actually used to do druid training, and then I would trailer to the Baroness, and I would do the Baroness races. And if I needed to, I'd actually trailer to Moorland, because something that I really enjoyed when I didn't have a lot of time training, I only spent about half an hour training in these days. I would actually just like the fact that the races were like condensed. Like, there's a lot of races at Moorland, and there's also Starshine Ranch is amazing because of the animals, and they get you 300 XP each. So yeah, I'm probably going to continue working on those videos eventually. Alright, I have been filming for a long time now, very long time. Hopefully this video was at least somewhat interesting to you guys. Hopefully I answered your question. I'm sorry if I didn't get around to answering your question. I just feel like people are so, like, I don't know if they thought that I was going to be more methodical in my training route or something. But yeah, I'm very chill, I'm very casual, and I very much think that you shouldn't force yourself to do something that you don't want to do, because that's what's going to make you like burn out and not like Star Stable basically. I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, then you might enjoy some of my other videos, such as on the screen right now is my Red Dead Redemption 2 custom coats video of some of the most beautiful, some of my favorite custom coats for Red Dead Redemption 2. I love you guys so much. Bye!